Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin our services today, I'm going to ask if we turn off and silence all cell phones and electronic devices. Thank you.
I have learned that in times of separation and loss and sorrow, the Psalms can bring much comfort and solace. In this spirit, we now hear the voice of the psalmist, Psalm 23, this great psalm of faith. And these verses remind us that even when we feel alone or lonely, we are never truly alone, for God is with us. And we know that God is with Shirley, grandmom, and she was a person of great faith.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Rabbi Amy Memis-Fuller. I'm the somewhat new rabbi at Adith Emmanuel, where Shirley was affiliated, and my presence here is just to honor her and help the family and everyone here celebrate her life. Adonai ro'i lo echsar, binot deshet yarbetzeni, al mei menuchot yanachaleni, nafshi yishovev, yancheni v'maglei tzedek lema'an shemo, gam ki elech begeit salmavet, lo irara, ki ata imadi. Shivtecha umishantecha, hema yanachamuni, ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged sorarai, dishanta v'shemen roshi, kosi revaya. Ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai, v'shavti b'veit Adonai, le'orech yamim. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. God maketh me to lie down in green pastures. God leadeth me beside the still waters. God restoreth my soul. God leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for God's name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the eternal God forever. As we find comfort in those ancient words, so too might we find comfort from these more modern words written by Rabbi Alvin Fine. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey, a going, a growing, from stage to stage, from childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness, and often back again, from health to sickness, and back we pray to health again, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage, made stage by stage, from birth to death to life everlasting.
I continue with a modern-day poem, which we read at our synagogue from time to time. Shirley would be familiar with it, I am sure. I think she liked it. Otherwise, she would have told me. And I'll personalize this for Shirley. At the rising of the sun and at its going down, we will remember Shirley. At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we will remember her. At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we will remember Grandmom. At the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer, we will remember her. At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we will remember her. At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember Shirley. As long as we live, she too will live, for she is now a part of us as we remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, when we are lost and sick at heart, when we have joy we crave to share, when we have decisions that are difficult to make, when we have achievements that are based on hers, we will remember Shirley. As long as we live, she too will live, for she is now a part of us as we remember her. We may not all know one another, although I think we do. And yet we all feel connected by our love, respect, and admiration for Shirley, for your mom, grandmom. And truly, love is the word. To know Shirley was and is to love her because she was warm and welcoming, caring and loving. Shirley had a good mind. She had a mind of her own, and she was strong and resilient. And that is why our shared loss is so very sad and difficult and profound, because Shirley was such a constant in your lives, a positive and dynamic presence, and she was always there for you, and especially her dear family. Shirley would do anything and everything for you, and you for her. Indeed, the greatest joy in life is to be able to say, I still have something to do, I want to accomplish yet more. And so she did. She absolutely thrived at Brightview over the last 5 years. She immersed herself in every option, every club, from knitting to Glee Club, organizing a Jewish group there. She really blossomed at her new home. I understand she became known as the ambassador of goodwill and inclusion, a title not given that often. And therefore, I believe that Shirley might say to all of us right now, I mean, she would certainly say thank you for being here. I'm overwhelmed that you came out and it's raining and everything. Thank you for being here to support and bring comfort to my dear family. And then she might go on to say, don't mourn for me, for I did not lead a mournful life. And you know, in the balance, she certainly did not. She led a long, full, fulfilling, vital, vibrant, purposeful, and good life. Shirley was a teacher in the best and most noble sense of the word. I mean, her teaching was really more of a calling. She started the nursery school, when it was still called nursery school, at Congregation Sons of Israel. She taught religious school at Temple Emmanuel. Until age 80, she was a substitute teacher in the Cherry Hill school system. She also taught special needs. She served as president of JCRC, was active in Hadassah, was on the Cherry Hill Senior Citizen Advisory Board, and had a very deep passion for the Esther Robb Holocaust Museum and Goodwin Education Center. She excelled as a reader for bookmates and had a very unique way of engaging the children, the students. In a sentence, she was one very busy lady all her life. And I know Shirley would appreciate this. In Pirkei Avot, the question is asked, who is rich? And the answer given, one who rejoices in what one already has. Shirley was very wealthy in this regard. However, one cannot speak of Shirley alone without also speaking of Dan, Pop-Up, her devoted and loving husband of 57 years, and their love story goes something like this. Are the grandkids aware of this story? I don't know. Yeah, you probably are. Anyway, Dan grew up in Lawrence, Long Island, which is sort of the center of the universe. And then accepted a position at RCA in Camden and really did not know anyone in this area. Shirley grew up in Vineland, and her mother encouraged her to go on this, I don't know if this is right, but it was something like a Jewish magical mystery car ride. And Dan showed up with his car. Listen to this. A ice blue, 1957 T-Bird convertible. Yeah. She was smitten by the car. She only wanted to ride with him. And that car eventually drove her to marriage. And over their many years of marriage, they evolved into a real team, a true partnership, best friends, soulmates. They were there for one another in the good times, and there were many, many good times. And they were there for one another and to support one another in the challenging times, and there were those as well. When Dan died, actually 5 years ago to this day, just about, a part of Shirley died as well. However, she summoned her great inner strength and did what she needed to do, which was to go on and to move forward. Shirley was religious. Actually, she was Shirley religious. Her Judaism meant so much to her. She carried out the Jewish ideal of tzedakah, which is often considered to be charity, which it could be, but it's righteousness. It's doing the right thing, standing up for the right cause. She was a fighter and a defender of her Jewish values. Shirley had many other interests and passions, mostly sports. You may not realize that. She loved the Phillies, the Eagles, no matter what happened. She tried to understand hockey. She also appreciated classical music. Most of all, she loved all of you, her dear family. I'm going to name all of you who are here: David and Sharon, Amy and Dave, Ryan and Michelle, Rick and Devin, Jenna, Matt, and Rebecca and Joe, Jake, Dylan, Taylor. Did I get everyone? And they're all here. Well, your grandmom would be so proud that you are here. So proud to help honor her memory. She was proud of your accomplishments, and she was prouder yet of the bright, sensitive, and caring family that you are. Grandmom felt your constant support, care, concern, and love. And you will most definitely miss her Shabbat Shalom calls. And she would sing, right? She would sing Shabbat Shalom, like that. And then I understand that at the end of every conversation, she thought that you had already ended the conversation, and she would still go on to speak. And what would she say? Right. Every time. And she didn't know you heard all that. I think she wanted you to hear all that. Shirley was this fighter. In 2020, at the age of 90, she was seriously ill with COVID, but she bounced back. She suffered a life-threatening fall this past April, was not expected to survive that, but she made it to David and Sharon's wedding. However, this time, more recently, it just seemed different. And Shirley died, but she died knowing that she helped to raise, guide, teach, and inspire children and grandchildren who in turn have so much to offer to others. You are her and their precious legacy. It could be said, I was thinking about this, that Shirley lived and then she died. I mean, she lived for 92 years, pretty much right up to the end. Maybe the last 6 weeks were a little tough. And then she died. And she lived a great life. And then she died with dignity, quietly, peacefully, and while listening to classical music. And according to her children, she passed just like the lady she was. Shirley will live on in you and through all of your personal memories and sacred stories. She loved, and she was loved in turn, and that is so obvious here today. We know that this love has not ended now with her passing. For as long as we live, she too will live, for she is now a part of us as we remember her. And to keep those memories going, I'm going to first call on Amy and David.
Which side do you want?
I'll go this side.
All right. Wow. Thank you all so much for being here today to remember my mother. Most of you know this is not my style to get up and talk, but I would be remiss if I didn't say just a few words today. It is so sad, but such a joy to remember a life well lived and someone who touched so many hearts, from her delicious family and friends to her school children, JCRC, Holocaust speakers, Hadassah, Red Cross, and like Rabbi said, the Senior Advisory Board in Cherry Hill. And they were really just the highlights. There was so much more. In her later life at Brightview, she continued her legacy of giving by being an ambassador and opening her apartment to prospective residents. The Glee Club. She was especially proud of the Knitting Club because they made scarves for the homeless. So that was very important to her. Her Saturday morning Shabbat services were on the calendar. You didn't miss them. She shared her Jewish background with the community. And don't forget things like flower arranging, town hall to voice her opinion, exercise group, and pool hall baseball. She was a shark at that one. She shared her love of classical music and opera and anything else that was there for her to participate in. My dad made sure that she was there to keep her life full and happy. She would always say yes to anything to make the world a better, happier, more inclusive place for all of us, her friends, her family, but most importantly, her grandchildren. She was such a big presence in all our lives, and although she was involved in so many activities, she never wanted to be in the spotlight. It was always about being a team player and about family first. She learned that best from her mother, our nanny. But I'm not going to go into all that part. As some of you will remember or heard about, when my dad died, I wrote about what it was like to be the engineer's daughter. That was interesting. But now I'm going to give you the most used line for the last 7 years of my life. Hi, this is Amy Bookbinder, Shirley Tannenbaum's daughter. It's one sentence. Amy Bookbinder, Shirley Tannenbaum's daughter. That line opened a lot of doors, and it garnered a lot of respect. I even had a patient one day wake up from anesthesia, look at me, and say, "Are you Shirley's daughter?" What a surreal moment that was. She was so proud to be a Tannenbaum, as we all are. She truly loved, honored, and respected my father. She spent so many years always doing what was best for him. She was certainly the reason, with a little bit of help from some good doctors and technology, my dad lived such a wonderful long life. From the first day she saw him on the mystery car ride, she said, "I'm gonna marry that man," with the finger wag. "I'm gonna marry that man in the ice blue Thunderbird." And she waited. And she waited. And she waited until that dream came true. Through the years, my dad supported all of her activities, no matter what they were or who they were for. He always tried to help her reach whatever goal it was that she was trying to achieve, whether he had to help her design it, write it, or even build it. And then he was always there to share in her success. They worked very well together as a team. You've all heard Team Tannenbaum. It was always a priority. And it's only fitting that on the Day of Hearts, she left all of us to be together with my dad forever. After he died, I became my mom's person. We spent so much time together, either in person or on the phone. What channel are the Phillies on? How are you and Dave and the kids doing? Did you talk to your brother? Did I make dinner for Dave? Shopping for anything, usually followed by lunch. Doctoring, getting manicures, or even just talking about anything or everything. She always ended her calls with, "I love you, I love you, I love you." I will truly miss her Shabbat Shalom calls on Friday, as will many of you. Somewhere along the way, she went from being my mom to being my friend. I was so proud to be her daughter. It always brought a smile to my face to walk down the hallways at Brightview and be recognized by people, and they would say, "That's Shirley's daughter."
Not me.
Not you. She always said, "Everyone should have an Amy," and I'm so glad I got mine. But the real truth is that I was so proud to have a Shirley, and the world is a better place because of her. She was loved by everyone who met her and will be missed by all whose lives she touched. And since today is Friday, I would like to share with you one last Shabbat Shalom to you and those you love. From Shirley.
Beautiful. Just beautiful. I feel like saying thank you very much. Good night, everybody. That was beautiful. So I'll start also by, saying good morning. And on behalf of our family, I want to sincerely thank you all for honoring Mom by being here today with us. The outpouring of support has been nothing short of amazing and certainly is so needed at this time. So multiple names, right? Mrs. T, Mama T, Aunt Cheryl, Grandmom, and Mom. What a life lived. We sat with Rabbi David yesterday, and he asked us for the words that we would use to describe Mom, and my first thoughts were, well, which mom? There's the mom I grew up with. There's Mom the teacher, Mom the involved in every activity imaginable, Grandmom, and Brightview Mom. And then I realized that while there may be different words, it all boiled down to her larger-than-life heart. Like most, Mom's life was full of ups and downs and challenges and joys. As Rabbi David said, she and Dad shared a life together for over 57 years until his passing 5 years ago, almost to the day. They married on a snowy Christmas Eve day in 1961, and within 4 years, they had two of the best damn children known to mankind. Okay.
Now I'm standing next to you.
Okay, maybe not, yeah. Mom dealt with Dad's health issues like a champ for 45 years. But what stands out most is how she was able to find room in her heart for so many. She was a teacher until the age of 80. And we have countless stories of where people would stop her, or us even, in the street and talk about how she not only taught them, but she taught their kids, and in some cases even taught their grandkids. How many times did we all hear, Oh, your mom is Shirley. She loved all of her kids. But the ones she loved the most were her grandkids. She was and always will be that grandma. First there was Ryan and Rick, Jen and Matt. Then we added Rebecca and Jake. We then added Michelle, Devin, and Joe. And she still had room in her heart for Dylan, Taylor, and the newcomers in Justin and Wes. When I started thinking about the moments, one in particular stood out. I love this story. I think it was around 1970-ish. Mom drove Amy and I to Florida to visit Aunt Myra, Uncle Bill, and Cousin Meems. Oh yeah, we're going there. We sang songs, we told stories, we laughed, and what I remember most is how much fun it was. It felt like we just drove around the block. Now, I don't recall the drive home being as much fun, but story for another time. I also want to take a moment, and Amy alluded to it, and I want to talk about what kind of daughter she was to our grandma Nanny. From the time I can remember, with Dad by her side, she was the most loving daughter and took such good care of Nanny. We would drive from Cherry Hill to Vineland, probably weekly, with Amy and I, and get this, with Amy and I in the rear-facing back seat of the station wagon with the rear window open.
Right.
All right? How safe was that? But Dad would always do his odd jobs around Nanny's apartment. Mom would sit with Nanny and make sure that she had everything she needed, felt good, was up to speed on everything going on, and I do mean everything. That apple didn't far fall from the tree.
No.
I want you all to know that while today is about Mom, I want you to hear from me how grateful I am, my sister, for all you did for Mom, especially in these last 5 years. I know it wasn't always rainbows and sunshine, but you did her proud, just the way she did Nanny proud.
You did so.
So in conclusion, Mom, I love you. I will miss you terribly. Will carry your memory in my heart for all my days. And now, I'm going to lift it back up. And now, in the words of another person that had tremendous impact on so many, help me when you recognize this. This is the audience participation part of the eulogy. You don't get that everywhere. Mama always told me not to look into the sights of the sun.
But
Mama, that's where the fun is. So, Mama, look into the sights of the sun, take Dad's hand, walk together for eternity. Rest in peace. I love you.
I'm calling on the grandkids, all of you who are coming up, or maybe all of you are coming up.
Are we all here?
Yeah.
All right. Want to start off by thanking everyone for coming. I know a lot of you came from great distance, and it really means a lot that you all came here today. We're honored to be able to stand here and talk about our grandma. She had many important titles in her 92 and a half years. Mom, Grandmom, Mrs. T, some of the ones that I remember most. And she took immense pride in each and every one of them. She was such a giving woman and was truly her happiest when she was helping others. She was always a leader in her community, as you all know now, if you didn't know already. As an educator, a volunteer, Brightview's most social resident, probably. But most importantly, as the true matriarch of this family. I always thought of Grandmom as just the glue that really pieced everyone together and kept everyone happy, and it's definitely one of my most favorite things about her is just having everyone together and then her and Pop just sitting back and watching kind of thing. Grandmom could command a room, and most of us know she always had to express how she felt in each moment. It always started off with something like, I just have to say. She had always been a chief of our family. Everyone would agree that even Pop, with his ever-doting, yes, dear. She had a special bond with each of us, and she taught all of us many lessons. To me, the most prominent was the importance of family. I have so many memories. You know, as I was writing this last night, I just had so many memories that were just flooding back, and I couldn't really say all of them because we'd be here for way too long. But a few things, I always enjoy looking back on the holiday dinners at Cherry Hill Boulevard. A well-orchestrated holiday celebration full of laughter and traditions. Sometimes felt like we were in school following her curriculum. Nonetheless, it was good times. Grandmom had an unwavering love for Philadelphia sports. As a kid, I would occasionally go to Phillies games like some of us at the vet with her. I remember this one time, I think we were sitting first base side, and I'm sitting with Grandmom, I have my glove on, and you hear the crack of the bat, and here comes a ball coming toward us. And I'm just a kid, I don't even know, I was probably 10 years old. And I see this ball just coming closer and closer to me, and my heart is racing, because I'm like, this is my first foul ball that I could possibly have catched, and this is an incredible moment. And as I'm watching this ball come toward me and I'm picking my glove up, I have Grandmom diving over me as if we were like in a battlefield. And I didn't catch the ball. The guy behind me did. But luckily I was able to receive my first foul ball, not catch it. But that was Grandmom, always protecting all of us, always watching over us. Grandmom, we will miss you every single day. And I know that we will all find some peace in knowing that you lived a long and beautiful life, and now you are reunited with Pop. We love you.
I'd like to call on Ada and Susan at this time.
Good morning, everybody. I am Ada Rosen, Shirley's sister-in-law. And I must leave my notes for a minute and say, whenever I said at Brightview, Shirley is my sister-in-law, oh. It happened every single time. I've known Shirley since she was 15 years old. She was the sister I never had. We would look out for each other, give each other advice, and share our joys and sorrows. When my Dave passed, she and Dan invited me over every Saturday night for dinner and never let me spend a New Year's Eve alone. We shared our love of community service and rallying for Jewish causes. One example, and you already heard of the many examples, was when we served on the Jewish Community Relations Council, the JCRC. She was a smart and effective leader. These last years at Brightview brought us even closer together. I called her every afternoon to wake her from her nap to come to dinner. And she called me every Saturday morning to wake me for Shabbat services. We shared many fun times participating in the Brightview community activities, even the Glee Club. She said she couldn't sing, but she could, and she did. And we were members of the Glee Club. Shirley was greatly loved by everyone in the family. All her nieces and nephews and great-nieces and nephews looked forward to spending time with her. They appreciated her loving enthusiasm about the events in their lives and loved to listen to them as she gave her advice, and it was beautiful. When the family gathered at my condo where I used to live, Shirley made it her business to stop by and greet everyone, usually bringing a delicious dessert that she baked. And her best recipe, I believe, was the blueberry muffin. And I can still taste it. When I married Dave, I gained a dear friend and a sister who I will miss so very, very much. Thank you.
Just stay right here. I'll just stand next to you. Okay. Aunt Shirley, I'm Susan. I'm the oldest of the nieces, and because of the big age difference between my dad and Aunt Shirley, before there were David and Amy and all the grandkids, there were the nieces. And before there were her grandkids, there were all of our kids. So we all have a special place. And Aunt Shirley was the best aunt anybody could want. She was there for us and always part of all of our lives, her nieces. As a young adult, Aunt Shirley and Uncle Dan helped me gain perspective when I needed another point of view. They were the first to watch Michael when others were nervous about his monitor wires. Aunt Shirley stepped up to help Len with infant Rachel when I was hospitalized. Later, Rachel knew she could always sleep over at Aunt Shirley's if she needed to stay in Cherry Hill. Aunt Shirley helped Mom and Paul get settled in Brightview. Aunt Shirley shared Judaica with all the kids, making Passover kid-friendly with reenactments and songs, which our family still sing. Bang, bang, bang. She came to my house and taught us to make Hamantaschen and told me to make it a tradition. Told me, you will do this every year now. And I did. Aunt Shirley modeled Tikkun Olam with her many good deeds and her actions to help and educate others. Aunt Cheryl was an inspiration to my sisters and our husbands and all the kids. And we just felt so close to her. She really was an inspiration. We will all miss her very much. May she rest in peace with her Daniel.
That was beautiful, Ada and Susan. Thank you. Thank you. Take your time. Yeah. I'm now going to call on Memes. Miriam, Memes.
I want to start off by saying, I could have been one of the nieces up here because my mom and dad lived in Paulsboro, New Jersey, but decided to go down south to Florida where they had met and where they fell in love. And my Aunt Shirley still referred to that as the day they took the baby away. And blamed me for it. I was too young to drive. It was my father's responsibility. My tantala, Shirley Tannenbaum, was a daughter, sister, sister-in-law, aunt, wife, mom, and grandma, in that order. She was a giver to family, friends, and folks whom she barely knew. Not only did she have a heart filled with love and was always willing to share, but she had an uncanny ability to see inside people. From the time I was a young girl, I know that she could see in me my insecurities, this proverbial square peg in the round hole. So when she and Uncle Dan would make trips down to Florida, she'd purposely break away from the adults so she and I could do something special together, just us two. And if you knew my aunt, something special almost always occurred in the kitchen, baking some sort of wonderful exotic dessert. It might be rugelach, it might be Hamantaschen, or Nanny's roll cake, affectionately known as Scherboom. And if you don't know what that means, ask the family later. Through the decades, I watched her share her love for Uncle Dan, David and Amy, Uncle David and Ada, and my mom and dad. Her devotion to me and those special times we shared together was immeasurable. She made this little miskite feel as though she might bloom into someone who would inevitably fit in and find their true love, who was sitting right there in the third row. I'm glad her hopes for me came to fruition, and I was thrilled that she was around to witness it. Because Aunt Cheryl possessed an enormous heart, she shared her love with all who were willing to accept it. This gal who stands before you is one of those lucky recipients. It's her love that gives me the strength today to stand before you and pay homage to my amazing Tante Cheryl. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. And I'm going to call on Dave.
So for those of you who don't know me, I'm the other Dave in Shirley's life, her son-in-law. And you've all heard stories about a fantastic woman and all the things that matter to her and the things that she's been involved in. And, batting last here in the batting order, it's going to be tough for me not to be repetitious, but I'm going to do my best to give you some things that maybe you weren't aware of about our dear Shirley. But I want to start with a story. I want to go back to, I think it was September of 2021, and we're still in the pandemic. Mask mandates are still in place. It's a beautiful day, and Amy and I decided we were going to take Shirley down to the shore for a walk on the boardwalk. So we get down there, and she's got her mask on. I let her borrow some mirrored sunglasses, and she's got a baseball cap on. She looked like she was in the witness protection program, seriously. We're walking down the boards, and this other couple's approaching us, and the woman leans to her husband, and she's making noises like, "Is that her? Is that her?" And she comes up to us, "Aren't you Shirley Tannenbaum?" "Why, yes, I am. You taught my son 46 years ago." Then there was a time at the Voorhees Diner when Amy and I were out to lunch with Shirley, and some folks across the room leaned over and came over to the table and said, "Hey, aren't you Shirley Tannenbaum?" I mean, I can go on all day. I'll give you one more. Last week at the hospital, one of the nurses came into the room and said, "I used to work at Brightview. Your mom always used to have great conversations with me and my sister." Or, excuse me, me and my girlfriend. I apologize. So, in terms of the most visible people in the Delaware Valley, there was a four-way tie. It was Joel Embiid, Jason Kelsey, Bryce Harper, Shirley Tannenbaum. The point is that she touched a lot of lives, and you've gotten that certainly from every conversation here. And everyone in the room and the thousands who are watching at home on the live stream right now all know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm going to share a couple of fun facts with you about Shirley. Some of you probably came here today thinking that Shirley had 4 grandchildren. Dave already busted that myth by telling you that there were more names here. So the fun fact is Shirley actually had 12 grandchildren. The point of the matter is, if you were important to Shirley's grandchildren, you were considered to be one of Shirley's grandchildren. And she welcomed my kids and Sharon's kids into the family with open arms. I want to speak to the grandkids for just a minute. Everybody else, go about your business. Grandkids, right here, okay? Grandma and I talked about you guys a lot, okay? I want you guys to look left, the other left, look right. You guys are family, okay? You guys are family. I'm an only child, explains a lot about me. I've got one living relative. Family's important, and Team Tannenbaum taught me that a lot. Your grandmother taught you so many things. She taught you things like courage, resilience, charity, gratitude, and most importantly, family. We had great conversations, like I said, about you guys, and I want you to know unequivocally that she not only loved you all, which you know, she respected you for the adults that you became. And she would tell you that the best way to honor her memory is by remembering that you guys are all family and to stay close to one another, okay? If you're having a party, if you're having a holiday dinner, and you think, I don't have enough chairs, borrow some chairs. Invite each other. Do it for Grandma. Another fun fact for you, you've heard a lot about Shirley. I never called her Shirley, not once, okay? Do you guys remember the first time you met the parents of your significant other? Like, what do you call them? It's awkward as hell, right? So, Mrs. Tannenbaum, that was just too stuffy. Shirley, oh my God, way too informal. This woman commanded respect. You knew that the first second you met her, right? So luckily she came with a nickname, and that was Mrs. T. But she quickly became a bonus mom for me, and I called her Mama T. So another fun fact about Mama T, she had 4 kids. And right now you're thinking, doesn't this guy work in finance? His math skills really stink. But yeah, there were 4 kids. She welcomed Sharon and I into the family as if we were her children, and I'm forever grateful for that. But about her 2 other kids, David and Amy, I'm looking at you 2 right now. Mom and I also had a lot of conversations about you 2. We spent a lot of time in the car. I mean, Amy would go do things, and I'm hanging out with your mom. Oh, yeah, we talked about you guys. I'm not going to divulge anything here, but I want you guys to know a couple of things. You know that she loved you dearly, but she admired you guys. I mean, admired you for the adults that you became, the parents that you are. She respected you, and she appreciated you. She raised 2 good kids with you guys, like you said. Probably the 2 best. Maybe I'm a close third. But every parent really should be so lucky to have children that work so well together, to advocate for them, for their best interest, and ensure that they have the most fun and joy that they have in their life, and she certainly did. You guys can exhale now, knowing unequivocally that you honored Mom every day in every way. So, in conclusion, the song may have ended, but the melody lingers on. And Mama T, I want to thank you for being such a great role model and for welcoming me into Team Tannenbaum. I got one more fist bump from my favorite badass. I love you and I miss you. Thank you.
As we begin to conclude our service, I would like to add this one poem, which is so appropriate, I feel, for your mom and grandmom. I think it reflects her philosophy of life and living. And I'd like to read it as if she would be responding to all the beautiful tributes spoken here today. And I'd like to read it in order to give her the last word. Don't grieve for me, for now I'm free. I'm following the path God laid for me. I took God's hand when I heard God call. I turned my back and I left it all. I could not stay another day to laugh, to love, to work or play. Tasks left undone must stay that way. I found that place at the close of day. If my parting has left a void, then fill it with remembered joy. A friendship shared, a laugh, a kiss, ah yes, these things I too will miss. Be not burdened with times of sorrow. I wish you the sunshine of tomorrow. My life's been full, I savored much. Good friends, good times, a loved one's touch. Perhaps my time seemed all too brief. Don't lengthen it now with undue grief. Lift up your heart and share with me. God wanted me now. God set me free. Let us all rise for our concluding El Mole Rachamim.
El Mole Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hamitzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Im Kedoshim Utehorim, Kezohar Harakia, Mazirim, Et Nishmat, Surah Bela Bat Chava, Shehalcha Le'olama, Barachamim Yastireha, Beseter Knafav Le'olamim, Vitzror Bitzror HaChaim Et Nishmata, Adonai Hu Nachalata, V'tanuach B'shalom Al Mishkava, V'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, Eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Shirley Tannenbaum, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God, you are her inheritance. May she rest in peace. And let us say, Amen.
You may be seated for a moment. The family has asked that I announce that after our service at Alliance Cemetery in Vineland, the family will be returning to the home of Amy and Dave, which is 7 Cattail Drive in Mount Laurel, and all family and friends are invited to join with them, and you can share then your own stories and memories of Mrs. T. And then Shiva continues on Saturday at the home of David and Sharon, 1012 Riverview Lane in Conshohocken, PA, and there will be a Shiva Minyan at 7 p.m. Thank you. May we have the pallbearers, please? And we'll ask everyone if you would rise once more, please. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll ask everyone if you would please take seats for just a moment.